That's a crazy story from the guy that fell asleep in your open house.
Yep. I swear I thought he was homeless. I mean, it was a mess and he fell asleep. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy.
What were you doing prior to getting in real estate?
I played professional baseball for 7 years.
What would you say were the 2 or 3 lessons during that 7-year journey that as you left that world, you brought those lessons with you?
Number one, I would say is discipline. You have to be disciplined and 100% dedicated to that craft if you're going to compete at that level. And that's in all facets of your life, diet, exercise, routine, all of that. I just said the word routine. You stick with your routine no matter what. The third thing was being able to create a schedule in an unscheduled atmosphere, meaning that once you kind of get to the top at that level, people aren't necessarily telling you what to do anymore. You have a lot of latitude to create your world and what it needs to be. So I feel like in real estate, it's the same thing. It's not, a 9-to-5 punch in kind of job. So being able to create structure in an unstructured atmosphere was definitely something that translated for me.
So last year, man, you had an amazing year. It was last year your fifth year, your fourth year? What was the...
Sixth year was last year.
Okay.
Sixth year.
Okay.
Yep.
So in your sixth year, right? You're 7 in baseball, sixth in real estate. Tell me how you did.
We did just under 190 million in gross sales.
Wow.
So 154 transactions. So that would be a nod to the All-Star game in baseball, I would say.
What I'm very curious about, because 6 years is not very long, Pete, to have climbed that mountain. Tell me how you did it in your own words. I'm just curious to know how you did it.
My wife is in a group on Facebook. It's called MLB Wags, wives and girlfriends. So it's basically a great page where they can share information about cities and, hey, we just got traded, and do you have a pediatrician in this area? Just stuff like that. They started selling things on there too. Like people would just be getting rid of stuff. So this one wife of a former major league player started posting a bunch of like really expensive handbags and like $50,000 motorcycles. And so my wife texted me, she's like, who is this? And her name was Nina Wells. And I said, I wonder if that's David Wells's wife. David Wells was a pitcher for the Yankees, threw a perfect game, had a great career. And so it turned out that she was. And I had just got my real estate license I passed the test and I had just hung my license about 2 weeks prior. And I noticed on her Facebook page, it said she was with Keller Williams. She was a realtor with Keller Williams. So I wrote Nina a message and I said, hey, my husband just retired. I wrote it from my wife's page. My husband just retired from baseball. We're really trying to keep an eye on funds. He just started in real estate. And she was like, I'm in real estate. Are you kidding me? So she goes, which brokerage is he with? And I wrote Keller Williams. And she goes, I'm with Keller Williams. And so we had this dialogue going. She goes, I have this fantastic person who deals with athletes, and I need to connect you with him. And I'll make the call and I'll get your husband like a free coaching session with this person. And so that person turned out to be Jason Abrams. And so Jason Abrams and I had a 2-hour phone call, and Jason did it out of the kindness of his heart for Nina. And Jason kind of taught me about, 4 pillars or 5 pillars. He said, here are 5 routes that you can go to get started in the business. And one of those routes was expired listings. And I gravitated towards that because it was free. So the next week I went on tour for the first time and I toured some properties, and there was this really cool kind of Big Sur mid-century modern house that I liked, but I could tell was overpriced, and I wasn't even in the business really yet, but I knew. And a week later, that house expired. I called my broker. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I'm 10 days, and it's $1 million listing. I'm 10 days in the business. So he came down, did the listing appointment, got the listing. I'm doing an open house 2 weeks later. And this guy walks in and he's like, he looks homeless. I'm not kidding. He looks homeless, like rips in his pants, dirty shirt, in his 70s, really disgruntled. And he was walking around and I couldn't connect with him, whatever. And he went and sat in this like built-in bench thing, and he literally fell asleep in the corner of the house. He fell asleep. And I was just like, what? Dude, like, what do I do? I'm a homeless guy in my house. I'm like, this is brutal. So he slept for 20 minutes and I let him sleep. And then he woke up and he's like, why'd you let me fall asleep? And I said, I don't know, you look tired, you know? So he left, and his name was Bill Dwyer. So he left. A week and a half later, Bill Dwyer calls me and says, is that house still available? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I'm in a 1031 exchange, write it up, $950 cash. And, or he goes, I want to offer $950 cash. And I said, okay, great. Have your agent call me, you know, send over the offer. He goes, you're my agent. I work directly with the listing agent. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So here I am double ending a $1 million deal. My first transaction.
How about that? That's remarkable. By the way,
crazy ride.
That story won't ever happen again.
No, that's a one of a kind. That's for sure.
Well, I'm just saying the guy fell asleep in your open house and ended up being an amazing client.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You don't do 154 transactions by accident. That does not happen. So,
right.
So what are your pillars when you think about your business?
So number one would be referral and sphere of influence. Number two would be, I would say it's probably repeat business. 2 and 3 are repeat business and, you know, a lot of direct calls from signs and listings and things like that. A lot of it has been organic, repeat client. And I think that's driven by our service.
So when you say it, you have built an inbound based business. And you believe it's service. Walk me through that. Why do people like doing business with you and your business? What do they get?
Yeah. So we're very listing focused. And what I've learned is that moving sucks. There is no other way to say it. It is awful. And so I've basically tried to break down the whole process from A to Z and figure out what those pain points are for the client. And we've tried to take as much of that off of their plate. So our value add, you know, our value prop. We do complimentary staging. So we have a warehouse, we have furniture, box truck, designer, movers. We're completely vertical with that. And that has been very successful for us, especially in this area, a lot older demographic. You know, you can have a $5 million home, but you have all this dated floral furniture and things like it can really change the aesthetic.
About a year ago, my wife slowly started replacing the lamps. And just that alone dramatically changed how the house felt. And then she just changed the fabric on a couple of chairs. And I went, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So I just wanted to dot that I, that presentation really does matter. And these accessories, they really do matter. I mean, if someone's lived in a home, even 5 to 7 years, in some way, it's not going to feel up to date, even though the bones of the house could be up to date, right?
Presentation is everything. And you're right. And it can just be accessories, and it can change the whole look and feel of a property. What I've done recently that has been just a big success for us is, so we talk about the team, we talk about how we take all this stuff off your plate, free staging. And I was doing it for, you know, we were doing it for 5%. And I was just like, man, I feel like we're getting, you know, the short end of the stick here. And I've come to the realization over my years, especially doing in luxury stuff, is that it's not price, it's product. It's not price, it's service. And so I was tired of having the awkward conversation of, okay, this is your team, you do free staging, you do this, you do that. Well, what's this going to cost me? And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, do I say 6%? Do I say 5.5%? And so what we've done is we've created 3 commission packages. So we say, when you ask me, okay, Pete, what's this going to cost me? I say, you have the option to choose based on how much involvement you want to have. So we have a 5, 6, and a 7% commission package.
That's right. Let me just stop you right there. That's really, really, really right. No one, there should be no such thing as a quote set commission. You really giving people the choice and explaining those options makes them feel they're more in control, and it allows you to dial in on what matters to them.
That's exactly right. It's because everyone needs something different. And we feel like we've tailored these 3 packages for the people that are like, I need you to do everything for me. And again, it's not price. They'll, on $1 million home, they'll pay an extra $10,000 or $20,000 because they know what their time is worth. So the 5% package says, I'm retired and bored. The 6% package says my spouse will do it. And the 7% says I know what my time is worth. And it's a vertical, presentation. And on the 5%, it says, the seller does this and we do this. 6 is about even. And the 7 is we do this. And it says, just give us the keys. And we're talking A to Z, top to bottom. Everything is done. Everything is paid for. We just need access to the house. And 6 of our last 7 listings have been at 7%.
Last question before I let you go. What's the challenge, the challenge you have to overcome?
Yeah. I'm a double your business kind of guy year over year. So, you start hitting that 200 million threshold for us in our market. There's, so many deals. How do you get to 400? And
yeah,
it is challenging, but for me, it's so what I've come to understand is that you, especially just in this business in general, but a lot in KW, I feel like too, a lot of people chase like volume or GCI.
Yep.
And I feel like that's a trap because
can be.
What's the first letter in GCI? It's gross, and volume, who cares? And so as the market is changing, I'm really focused on margins, and that's my biggest. That's the number that I've learned to follow the most. And so I think what you'll be impressed by, because the big red book says, I think at our amount of business that we do in GCI, we should be running at 20-30% profit margins. We run at 74% profit margins.
Wow.
So and so again, that's where the commission packages come in. And so I've looked at it like, how do we increase our margins? And it's through service. But so for me, it's just the logistics of providing what we provide and keeping our margins and our overhead down with how much service we offer. That's what keeps me up at night, is how do you go from 200 million to 400 million? And that's a journey that I'm on now. And I try to tackle it every day.
I love that. All right, Pete, I've really enjoyed spending time with you today. Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you too. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, if you want to learn more, just check out these other videos.